learning. Oh, there we go. Welcome everybody to our Friday afternoon learning community with NIST. And we're going to just start with actually, I'm going to ask two warm-up questions. One is, Happy Pie Day. What are you doing for Pie Day? Are you going to eat a slice of pie? If so, what flavor? Or if you're doing something else for Pie Day, type it in the chat. And the second question was, did you catch the lunar eclipse last night? Because we saw it really, really clearly on the West Coast here. So if you want to put answers to those in the chat. Pinar is wearing the pie. I don't know if we can see that. Oh, there she is. Awesome. Wow, you are totally prepared for this. Way to go. Chocolate silk pie. We have a birthday on Pie Day. That's pretty exciting. Joanna says they're going to an NBA game for the Timberwolves. And I'm sorry, I don't know where that is. Which team is the Timberwolves? It sounds like the Northwest.
I think it's Minnesota.
Oh,
Is it?
I'm really bad.
Yeah, Minnesota.
Okay. Minnesota basketball game. You already had strawberry rhubarb and French silk pie. That sounds so good. What is French silk pie, Jim?
I guess what somebody called chocolate silk is what I purchased was called French silk.
Sounds great. Oh, nice. And Talitha is gonna lemon pie. Nice. And Pankaj is reading the newsletter about Pi Day and how everyone is celebrating. That's awesome. All right. Well, I guess nobody saw the eclipse. Did anybody see the eclipse? It was just really cool. It happened over like 35 minutes, total lunar eclipse last night. And we just kind of had a break in the rain, so we were able to actually see it. So that was pretty cool. I guess it was probably too late on the East Coast to watch it, but my husband and I were watching it probably around 11 p.m. last night. So welcome everybody, and thank you for sharing your Friday afternoon with us. We are going to get started in just a minute. I'd like to introduce our wonderful speaker for this afternoon is Dr. Julie Sonnenberg Klein. She's the Executive Director of the Vertically Integrated Projects, VIP, program at Georgia Tech, and she has a PhD in Educational Policy Studies. Her research looks at the impact of experiential learning on career outcomes, student leadership development, issues of equity and access in undergraduate research, policy and student faculty participation in VIP, and the quantification of multidisciplinarity. Julie has published in peer-reviewed conferences and journals and co-authored papers with colleagues from over 20 institutions in the US and abroad, and she advises administrators at institutions that are considering establishing VIP programs and provides workshops and faculty development to support VIP program establishment. She's also served as the program chair for the annual VIP Consortium meeting for 10 years. So we're very excited to have a VIP in our midst talking about the VIP. And I personally think that in this time of decreased funding and chaos and everything else, I think this will be really wonderful to hear about this afternoon. So over to you, Julie. Thank you.
Thank you. You are so nice. Good afternoon, Friday afternoon, everyone. She said, my name is Julie, and I'll talk to you about the Vertically Integrated Projects Program. And while I'm located at Georgia Tech, my work with the consortium, I've learned a lot from the other VIP institutions. And so no matter what kind of a university you are, I might know somebody who's doing something that's relevant to where you're at. So, so you have 19 people. And so I was thinking before we start, I wanted to learn about what's going on, where you're at, so I can contextualize it so it actually applies to where you are. So we're close to the 20 mark. So I'm going to do the whiteboard thing. So let's see how Zoom savvy I am here. So I'm going to stop sharing. And then I'm going to turn on the whiteboard, which I set up a minute ago. Whiteboard, existing whiteboard. my whiteboard. All right. And it's navigating to my whiteboard space. And can you guys see a whiteboard right now? Yay. Okay, that's exciting. So I believe that you can tab through the whiteboard to go to each one. And if it doesn't look right to you, you can use the lower right to have it fit your screen. And what I was hoping is that everyone could, this is a histogram that we're going to do. So the first one is of the students at your institution, very few do research and a lot do research. So I'm at Georgia Tech, I'd say like, maybe we're right here. So I'm going to put an X right here. So if people could put an X and kind of build up a histogram for what their institution has, and then to arrow to the next whiteboard screen, oh, it looks like there's a little pop-up on the left. So I don't know if I need to navigate us or if you can navigate. But there are 4 screens, and I see some people got to the second one already. Or did I mess you up and switch screens?
Maybe we should do one screen at a time.
Okay, we'll do one screen. So we're going back to the first screen. So this is the student research, and I'm going to click it. I don't know if it moves it around for you. Oh, some of you are clever and figured out emojis. I don't know how to do that. All right, so it looks like so far we're mostly more than half, it looks like. But there is a distribution. Excuse me as I rustle out of my little cardigan here. Okay, so this is a pretty wide distribution. Leaning center, maybe a little to the right. All right, so I'm going to go to the second whiteboard. So that's undergraduate research. This one, and I'm going to click fit to screen, so it might move everything for you. I don't know why for me it's way up high. I'm going to zoom out a little. So this is your students enrollment. Do you mostly have part-time students on the left or mostly full-time students on the right? Okay, so we have a couple of institutions that have a mostly full-time, but we have a few that do have a sizable portion of part-time students. Okay, get the cat with the stars is good. Okay, I'm going to switch to whiteboard number 3. So this is, and I'm going to have to set it to fit screen. This is your faculty teaching load. So your courses per term, whether your term is a semester or a trimester, whatever, how many per a single term that they usually have to teach. Okay, I like that there are fractional ones because where I'm at, it's a 1, 2. So it's 1.5 for my department, but it varies by department, of course. Okay, we have some departments with pretty heavy teaching loads, 4 per semester. And we have space dogs and an elf. And I don't know what the green pizza is. Okay, so I'm going to go to the last whiteboard and I'm going to do the fit screen. For me, it's kind of a little off center, so I'm moving it for myself. So this is your faculty's research funding. Do most have research? Most don't have research. And we are all over the place. So that's a pretty broad distribution. Oh, it scales. All right. Okay, well, that is helpful. That helps me kind of understand where you're at, so that I'm not going in the wrong direction as we're talking. So now I'm going to stop the share. See if, oh, I have to close. There we go. Okay, and now I will go back to share my PowerPoint. All right, and I'll have one more screen toggle in a minute, but it's not yet. So that helps me understand where everyone is coming from. So for starting, I thought I would first tell you why VIP is interesting. So I'll start with some selected facts and findings before I pile on what the heck it is. So number one is that it is very scalable. This is enrollment in VIP at Georgia Tech. They started the program with 2 teams, 20 or 30 students, and it grew and then it leveled off. But then once they started building in some software tools so they could promote it and students could apply electronically, it really started growing. And faculty keep on requesting more teams and students keep filling those teams. And so right now we have over 2,500 students just this semester alone. And this past fall, 35% of students who graduated with bachelor's degrees had participated in VIP at least one semester. And what's mind-blowing about this is that we only have 100 teams. So, and then, 2 years ago, I only had maybe 80 teams. So those 80 or 100 professors are reaching 30% of the students with this mentorship. So what I wanted to show you what that looks like. So now we're going to have one more awkward screen toggle. Go to my web page. Oh, that was smoother than it was on my version of my computer. So this is our VIP homepage. I want to give you an idea of what it looks like to have 100 teams and how on earth we make this happen. These are our team listings. On the left, the students can filter the teams by what major the professor is looking for. So whether the professor is looking for that team doesn't mean it will count in a meaningful way toward their degree. So the second category is, well, your department said only certain teams count. So they can filter by that. And then they can also filter by UN Sustainable Development Goals. And I'll try not to scroll too fast. But this is our variety of teams. It's a lot of engineering and computing kind of things because it's Georgia Tech, but we also have some humanities in there. We have art and AI, birds and arts and media, that's from the humanities. Bits of Good is kind of a service learning team. Yeah, so this is our variety. I won't scroll through all 100. Oh, this is a fun one though. This is an electrical engineering professor who has always wanted to do art and like movable art and interactive things. And this is how she's doing it. She gets this army of students that help her build these exhibits and they do shows. And so she loves it. So now I'll switch back to the PowerPoint. So we've done quite a few studies on our program at Georgia Tech. And one of them is that we looked at exit surveys for the Institute. And what we found is that VIP students agreed more strongly that their Georgia Tech education contributed to their ability to work with individuals from diverse backgrounds, their ability to work in multidisciplinary teams, and their understanding of technologies relevant to their fields. So we were excited, yay. But we wanted to look more and see what's going on. How can we further investigate how this is happening? So we looked at the peer evaluations that we are administering for the program because we centrally administer them. And we found that it was a social network analysis that we did with the data. And we found that students interacted more often with students from other races and ethnicities, that they interacted more often with students from other majors. And we also saw some leadership growth. And an interesting piece about the race and ethnicities one is that we found a team that, because we looked at it across the program and at the team level, and one team was clumping by race. And it was shockingly clumped. And we tried to figure out what was going on. And we talked to our Center for Teaching and Learning, and they said, we know exactly what happened. The professor said, everyone come in the room. All right, form groups. Okay, now let's figure out what we're going to do. So we developed faculty professional development that just helped faculty learn how to set up their team. And we didn't directly address this clumping issue. It was just what are effective practices. And one of them was tell the students what all these sub-projects are that they could work on, and then let them sign up for the one they're interested in. And when that professor voluntarily came to that workshop, and this pattern disappeared from their team entirely. And so just by managing your team in a different way, it changed the student experience. So for the leadership growth, we did a longitudinal analysis of peer evaluations, and we found that, and this was looking at students' ratings of their classmates' leadership roles. So to what degree does that student coordinate the team's work? To what degree is that student a technical or content area leader? And we saw clear leadership growth, and it was through the third semester of participation. So this confirmed what faculty had been telling us, that students take on these responsibilities and they improve more and more over time. And so that was exciting to see it in the numbers. The most exciting findings we have gotten have been related to job placement. For this study, we threw in everything in the kitchen sink, everything Georgia Tech study or tracks, because the method we were using was propensity score analysis. And for that, you include everything that could be influencing the outcome. And so these are all the variables that were significant. At the top, it's work-based learning. Being a Pell Grant student made them less likely to have found the job. These are adjusted odds of having found a job. So if they did co-op, they were on average 4 times more likely to have found a job prior to graduation. Then we have academic things and then student engagement things at the bottom. And what we found was a dosage effect for VIP and 3 semesters of VIP was associated with triple the odds of having found a job prior to graduation. And that was comparable to having done an internship. So that was exciting for us to see. So now there is, of course, more studies. We haven't done any qualitative analysis, so now I need to learn some qualitative methods to figure out what's going on under the hood of the car. In that same study, we found that, so we only were looking at students who planned on going into the workforce after they graduated. And we looked at how they, different attributes. And what we stumbled across was that VIP was serving disadvantaged students at higher rates than all of the other programs associated with higher job placement. So on the left, we have Pell students, and this is their participation in the other programs. And on the right, these are non-Pell students. You can see a clear difference between these populations. And then this is the participation in VIP. So there isn't parity between Pell and non-Pell for VIP, but VIP is still serving them at a higher rate than any of the other programs that are helping them find jobs. And so we think that that's an exciting piece of the puzzle. And this is without special or targeted recruiting to Pell students. And we have theories on why that is. But again, we need to do some qualitative studies. So the model, what it is really simple. Faculty embed large student teams in their research. So the teams at Georgia Tech, we asked for them to be at least 8 students. When I joined around 10 years ago, our teams on average were 16, and now they're on average 25. And that's partly because teams can grow over time, but also we found that teams that are more disciplinarily narrow, they have multiple majors, but they're all close, like electrical engineering, computer engineering, and maybe mechanical. They can get very, very big because it's easier for the professor to manage a large team where they're all doing very similar things. And it seems like teams that are very broadly multidisciplinary, they tend to be more like 16 or 20 students, not these monster teams. But so the vertical integration refers to the structure of the team. It has sophomores, juniors, seniors. You can have grad students, postdocs, and faculty on the team. And the projects last many years. This isn't just a one-off semester kind of thing. It's a graded course. Students earn 1 to 2 credits per semester, and those credits can count toward their graduation requirements, but that varies by major. And a key piece is that students can participate multiple semesters. And so having them only count 1 or 2 credits per semester is what allows them to do multiple semesters, because then it adds up to a full course when they do it for 2 semesters in a row. And what you see is that the returning students they'll help the new students get up to speed on the project, and then they coordinate the group's work and things like that. And that's what enables the professor to mentor 16 students instead of 3 students, because the returning students are starting to look more like grad students and helping the team along. So the VIP consortium has identified key elements of the VIP model. That's what they did when they first met in 2014, and they voted a couple of times since then to reaffirm what these key elements are. And number 1 is the nature of the projects. The teams are embedded in faculty projects, and that is so important because that's where you get the motivation and the buy-in. Faculty will do nice things. They'll do, service learning projects and whatnot. But after a few years of doing it, they say, well, I have to go back and do my research. So you need them to be really motivated to do it for 10 years. We have a team that's 20 years old. And then number 2 is that it's large scale and long term. Faculty come to the program because they want to do these large projects, and we make it possible for them to do it. And the long term means that we're not continuing starting up a team and shutting down a team and, oh, this is a returning student, but their team shut down, we have to move them someplace else. What you really want it to be is just an integrated part of the professor's research portfolio. Number 3 is that multidisciplinary teams are encouraged, but they're not required. This was included in that first year that we met because there was a university that came that said, we can do this, but we can't make it multidisciplinary. I can't guarantee what my colleagues are going to do in another department. So everyone agreed that a single department program can be VIP, but when you're working on a very large project that maybe has 15 or 20 students, that by nature is often multidisciplinary. And this site that was worried about it, they launched it as a single department, but students from other majors keep on enrolling in it. So they're multidisciplinary anyway. And then number 4 is that participation is voluntary. Faculty are not required to do it. Students are not required to do it. And I think that's part of what the magic is, because these faculty and students enter this room all wanting to work on the same project. And so that changes the level of engagement and what people are getting out of it. So then other aspects are the course side of things. So it's a graded course. And this is important because it holds students accountable for their performance on the team. If you make it voluntary, everyone's excited, but then once the first round of tests come along, the students disappear and then they drop. Other people can't finish what they're doing because they were relying on another student. I have exceptions to that I can tell you about later. But the way we do it is at the middle of the semester, you tell them, okay, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to get a B minus. But if you want to do better, these are 3 things you could do that would really improve your performance on the team. And so you're not just grading the students, you're coaching them. And so that helps them improve their performance. And then if they come back the next semester, here you have an A student coming in the door that's ready to help the other students. And the next one is that the credit can count toward their graduation, and you want students to be able to do it for at least 2 years. And if they're earning 1 or 2 credits per semester, and if it's a semester system, then that comes out to about 6 credits of space you need to find in the curriculum. At institutions where you allow undergraduate research to count toward graduation requirements, that makes it easier because you can just slot VIP into that same slot. I'd say outside the US, that's a little bit harder because some of them don't have undergraduate research on the same scale. Number 7 is that the teams the students and the teams work on both disciplinary and professional skills. And those professional skills are the collaboration skills. They are working as a team, coordinating with the other sub-team, presenting on it. And then the last 2 items are logistics related. Number 8 is dedicated classroom and meeting spaces. And all of these key elements, the consortium asks sites to either have them in place or be working toward them. But there are some institutions that maybe can't make all of these key elements happen, but it's a good faith effort to try to achieve them. The advantage of the dedicated classroom and meeting spaces is then you can have a professor who has their VIP team meeting at the same time every week for every year, every semester. And so that gives them a consistency in their schedule, and you're not forever jockeying with the campus scheduling optimizer and trying to get space. And you can also have spaces that work better because the VIP team meeting is more like a research meeting. You want to have conference tables. You don't want classroom setups and things like that. And then when teams aren't using the room, then sub-teams can come in. So we post a schedule online for when the room is open, and then they can just pop in and students are expected to share the room. And that gives them a space to work instead of trying to find each other at the library all the time. And then number 9 is not it's not codified, it hasn't been voted on, but what's done across the consortium is there's very nominal screening of students because interviews, GPA, resumes, letters of recommendation, we haven't found them correlated with performance on the team. If you have a team of all 4.0 students, you have a team of students who can take tests really well, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they can be effective team members. And so the nominal screening we do at Georgia Tech is, so no GPA, no resumes, no letters of recommendation. The advantage of this is that when you look at those things, the rich get richer. The student who got the opportunity their freshman year always gets picked as a sophomore. And the student who didn't get that opportunity is never going to get picked, even though they're equally excited and motivated about the project. And we had one VIP site that for one team, so they balked at this. They said, whatever, we're going to screen our students. It's going to be great. Don't worry about it. For one team, they accidentally admitted all of the students they meant to reject. And they were like, oh, what do we do now? So they said, well, we'll just get through the semester. It's no big deal. That team out of this was a new VIP site. That team was the most productive team in the entire program because those were students who had never gotten the chance, and they went swinging and they were fabulous. And it completely changed that site's opinion of what GPA really means. So before I tell you any more, does anyone have any questions on those pieces? Because I'll tell you how you can establish a VIP program, but I don't want to bowl you over. And I have a little breakout thing that we can do, or a group or chat thing too. Everyone's quiet. Okay, so I'll keep going. So I wanted to do a breakout discussion. So if somebody could chime in, would you rather do breakout rooms or would you rather do the chat box so you can see what everybody else is saying too? Brenda, what do you prefer?
I think we could do a short breakout room. I think that would be
Okay.
great. Let's do a short breakout room and then we'll oh, somebody said chats. Okay, we can do
Okay.
chat. We can type in the chat that way. Yeah, we're not a huge group. We have 26 people, so
Okay.
everyone can type in the chat. Sure.
Okay, so for the chat, what I feel like it's helpful after you hear all this stuff is to think about low-hanging fruit at your institution. You might already know a professor who's mentoring 15 students. You might have an administrator who might be excited about this, or you might have an idea for a team that you would really like to do, like you're a biologist, and if you had biomedical, or if you had medical students, kind of thing. So if you guys could type into the chat box if you are inspired to, low-hanging fruit that you might have at your institution. Oh, hold on. We already see low-hanging fruit. We have somebody who mentioned that they teach the tiny earth cure to 100 micro students, including 80 nursing students. Wow. And VIP, as you're typing, has been classified as a flavor of a cure because it is a course, but it's not as structured as a regular course. It's much more loosey-goosey. We have faculty who are already mentoring students. Yeah, so for the person saying that they have a large research course, they want to make it a cure, but they don't have a situation where a professor could have 100 students gathering data. Oh, the non-tenure track. At some universities, this is very popular with non-tenure track faculty because they want to do research, and this gives them the opportunity to do really interesting projects and have it span multiple semesters. Okay, so if there's interest in more research opportunities for students. Oh, we got fish dissection going on. Oh, so Elizabeth, they already have VIP teams. Yay. Oh, they're losing faculty credit for mentoring students. I feel that pain. Oh yeah, University of Maryland. So for Joanna mentioned that changing requirements for graduation. To be honest, it is a continual work in progress at Georgia Tech. We started with just a couple of departments that would allow VIP to count the same way undergraduate research did. And then what I found is the more faculty you have who establish teams, the more likely it is that that department will establish a policy on how the credits count. And what we would find is that students would still enroll in the teams, but they wouldn't come back for that second and third semester if it didn't count in a meaningful way. So we're a work in progress. We actually hired someone specifically just to try to wrangle the policy beast because it's a moving target constantly. A department might change their policy. We don't know about it. Yeah, so it's a process. Oh, is that Colorado State University?
California State University.
California. Okay, I was gonna say we have one at Colorado State. Okay, so if you want to get someone excited, we're having the consortium meeting in May, and the consortium covers the lodging and most meals for 2 guests from an institution. And if you're an emerging institution like Perspective, you could ask, could we bring more than 2 guests? Because that would help you get the momentum you need. But what we've had is, have someone who's excited about it, bring their dean. And the dean comes and they see this momentum that all these institutions have, and it can help you get institutional buy-in. So you guys are welcome to join us. All right, so that is good stuff. All right, so I will tell you more. So now about establishing a VIP program. So these are the things that I'll tell you about. Instructors, number 1, why on earth are they doing this? I talked about it a little bit, but many of them come to us because they want to do a larger scale project than they can achieve with the number of grad students they have, or they have no grad students. Also, somebody mentioned non-tenure track faculty. We are getting more and more of those in our program at Georgia Tech, and it has been great. But we realized is that as we get more and more departments, we realize that we are not qualified to decide which things are count as the right kind of projects, or which faculty are qualified to teach on which kinds of teams. So now we're having to do faculty credentialing because we realized SACS, our Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, is going to be looking at, they look at, all of your courses and the qualifications for the faculty. So now we're just creating a paper trail for that. So it hasn't been a problem. That's another piece to think about. Some faculty want passion projects. Like I told you about the electronic atrium team. We had another team that was a mathematics professor and a chemical and biomolecular engineering professor. And I'm not making this up. They were both stand-up comedians. And they wanted to do a VIP team on the humor genome project, like the music genome project, like Pandora kind of thing, but where it would predict what kind of jokes you would like. And so it sounds like it maybe wouldn't be a VIP team, but they were using machine learning and all kinds of stuff, and they did it, and it was a big hit. And then there are professors who specifically need other majors. You know, it's a mechanical engineering professor who needs computer science students and electrical engineering students, and it's hard to find them. That's just extra work, and we are a central clearinghouse for the faculty. And then oh, I clicked in the wrong window. And then another thing that attracts faculty is that it's a low risk setting to try new ideas. So if you have something you want to write a proposal for, you could have undergraduates and graduate students help you with it, you know, kind of do proof of concept, and then you have something to put in the proposal. And maybe it doesn't go great. Well, that's okay. It was just a VIP project. And this is something students learn. Sometimes you do a project and it doesn't work out. You pivot and you go in another direction. And then it also gives faculty broader impacts, workforce development kind of things. If you have a project, you can say, well, in addition to training biologists, I'm also educating the electorate because I have students from these 10 other majors on my team dissecting fish. Models for teaching and credit release time. And someone said that their incentives for mentoring students was taken away because of budget cuts. With VIP, the baseline model is there's no release time. Faculty do it just because it advances their research. It's a project they want to work on, and that's how most of our program has grown, but we do have one department that incentivizes participation. And that department gives one course per academic year release time. So that's a department that teaches 3 courses a year per professor, but if they're doing VIP, they get out of one of those. Right now, that department is doing it forever. We don't think that's sustainable forever because if everyone starts a project, they won't have anyone to teach. A more manageable model is that you could give that release time in the first 2 years. So that's when the heavy lifting happens. I had a professor tell me, oh, those first 2 years, it seemed like a lot of work, but then that 5th semester, the angel sang and I got all these publications out of it. And all of my returning students always seem to know what to do. So that 2 years, we think that release time would help with that transition period. And then some departments can give the capstone credit on top of that if they're doing capstone in the team, because students could roll their VIP teamwork into their senior design. You also want to negotiate release time for your VIP director because it takes time to coordinate all of this stuff. So if it's a heavy teaching load school, you want to do 1 course per semester. If it's a lighter teaching load, 1 course per year would be sufficient. And recruiting instructors. It really needs to be voluntary. If you talk someone into doing this, they are not going to be in it for the long haul and they're going to check out. We've had teams where professor was really into their team, but then they retired or they went to another institution and another professor took over it as a favor. But then over time, they would lose interest because it wasn't their passion project to begin with. So you need it to be voluntary and you need them to be fully engaged in it. And like I said, you can look for faculty who are already mentoring students. You can run class roll to see what professors have 15 students in independent study, and those are your early adopters that you can get. And when you recruit these faculty and you bring them on board, and maybe you'll set up a web page like I showed you, you know, with team descriptions and things like that. You want to keep the initial engagement with those faculty fun. So you don't want to like get into the details of, oh, well, when are you going to work or meet and what room are you going to use? First, you write the team description. That's the fun part. And then you iterate on it. You talk about what would work well for recruiting students. And then after that, then you say, okay, let's worry about the details. You know, what day and time are you going to meet? What's the room number? What's your employee ID? We need to give you access. So, and then you can, yeah, they'll stay on board after that. So you want to have champions and supporters to help you get this established. So this was from an analysis that evaluators did of the VIP consortium when we were first established, looking at the organizational embeddedness of the program. So on the right in the blue, they were PI driven. So it was a professor in a department who was getting this VIP program up and running. And then on the left in the gold, it was an administrator, provost or president said, this is great, we're going to do it. And they tasked people with getting it done. And then we have people in the middle where the person establishing the program was maybe a department chair or a dean. And so it was a college level program. So they're all over the map. But regardless of where you're starting, you need to cultivate supporters, the administrators. You want to be working with curriculum committees. And even if they tell you the no the first time, you go back the second year, you go back the third year, and then all of a sudden they think it's a great idea because it gets normalized. They see other departments adopting it. So you need to give people time to warm up to it. And students will still enroll if it's not counting in a meaningful way. You just won't have them returning or enrolling at the same rate you would otherwise. The registrar, you want to work with them because these courses look crazy, which I'll show you in another slide, and working with the staff, an idea that we stolen a lot of things from Boise State. But one of the things was that they had an academic advisors luncheon so that they could roll out the program for the academic advisors and let the advisors know that they were appreciated and that they were an important part of this whole process. And so we've started doing that, and it's been really rewarding for us. We've gotten a lot out of it. So the courses. So this is why you need the registrar in your corner. Or no, this is not the course part. This is the instructor part, the course framework. So you don't want this to be busy work for the faculty. You don't want them grading and giving progress reports every week. The way we do it at Tech is there's a midterm grading and an end of the semester grading. So you run your team like a research group. You meet every week. You see the students face to face. You can kind of pick up on who is working, who isn't. The students are maintaining individual documentation. They're contributing to team level documentation. And then at the midpoint of the semester, they turn in their notebooks or documentation and they do peer evaluations and you give them feedback. Keep going. This is what you'll get. This is how you could improve. And then you do the same thing at the end of the semester. And we have 3 equally weighted graded areas: teamwork, their contributions to the project, and their documentation. And the teamwork, it seems like a fluff item, but it's really important because there are students who will say, well, I'm not going to help him. That's not part of my grade. We had one team where somebody really said that. So you need to socialize them, to be that if you're part of the team, you pay attention to what's going on the team. You don't look at your phone through the whole team meeting. You offer to help other people with their work, or if somebody's stuck, kind of thing. We want to come up with kind of a rubric of low-level teamwork and high-level teamwork. So once we have that, we'll be posting it online. So then the things that you use to grade these categories are observations, we have the peer evaluations, we have the individual documentation, and for that, the students maintain weekly logs. This is what I'm going to do this week. This is what I did do this week. This is how it went. And then the team level documentation, that's really what you need to move the project forward the next semester so that when you have new and returning students, you can go through everything and hit the ground running. And a piece you can build into the semester is toward the end of the semester, you take the students and say, okay, this semester you did this onboarding stuff. Now you develop something for the students to do next semester to get them up to speed. So they develop tutorials or modules the new students need to do. And the next semester after the students do it, you tell them, okay, well, you did that module. Now go back and make it better for the next set of students. So you're always building your portfolio of things to get people up to speed on your project. Now, this is the messy part for the registrar. You want to create or repurpose courses. And the final goal is to have a campus-wide subject code, because you don't want to have individual department subject codes, because then you will be forever cross-listing everything and it's utter chaos. And it also emphasizes that it is a multidisciplinary program. Just because you're working with a professor in chemistry and you're in biology, you're not crossing discipline. This is supposed to be multidisciplinary. It's not unusual. And the short term, you can use temporary courses and just not tell the students what the course numbers are until they're ready to enroll. So they're not seeing it on the front end, or you can repurpose things that you already have. But there's not a right or wrong timeline. These are all a work in progress. We have VIP sites that are still working on some of these pieces and some that are already done. But it seems like the more recent programs go very quickly with it, because now we have course descriptions that have been adopted by lots of universities. So it doesn't seem like crazy talk. So the courses, what we have at Georgia Tech, and this is the Georgia Tech model, and other universities have slightly different variations, but we have sophomore, junior, senior, and graduate level courses. We don't put freshmen in the Georgia Tech course for a couple of reasons. Number one is that we only have so many credits we can get in the curriculum. And if we start them as freshmen, they're going to max out of their VIP credits before they're seniors. And so we'd rather get them as sophomores and then keep them until they graduate, or until they're seniors, kind of ballpark. We also have specific 1-credit courses and 2-credit courses. Some sites will do a variable credit, so the student just chooses what they want, but we would rather have a degree of control over it. So if students are applying and they seem similarly motivated, but one wants to do 2 credits and one wants 1, we'll take the 2-credit student. And we have capstone courses, but those capstone courses have the home department's subject code, but then we cross-list it in a special way with ours, although it's not a true cross-listing, and graduate level courses. And then we identify our teams by their section number. And this seems unimportant, but when you have a team that's going to run maybe 5 or 10 years, being able to look back over time at that team's enrollment is really important. And so that team will always be VP1 over all those course numbers over every semester until the end of time. And so that's why when a professor is writing a proposal, like I mentioned, someone emailed, I can tell him, oh, this is how many students you've served. This is how many enrollment instances it was, and this is how many majors it was. And I can give him all kinds of different graphics on who's he's serving. So it helps the faculty. And then, oh, I already talked about the credits. Sorry. And then we also have an option that we call a 0 credit option. It's an audit course. And we use that when students are being paid, because at Georgia Tech, students can't be paid and earn credit at the same time. They're looking at revising that, but that's our current system. So now the policies on how credits count. These are, and actually these are slightly older numbers, but they still demonstrated. The goal is for students to participate for 2 years. So that means that they participated for at least 4 semesters, which is green number. We have yellow, lime green, another shade of green. So that's 4. And so this is the department's degree of success in that. And the computer science one, they have a multi-semester design sequence, and we have the highest participation rate and the highest persistence from them. And it's because the students participate for 3 semesters in order to fulfill that junior design requirement, but it's one of multiple pathways. They don't have to do VIP, but it's an option for them. And I think what's appealing to them is that in the regular junior design course, they go into a room and they get put into groups, and then they have to figure out what project they're going to do. VIP gives them a little more control over which project they are going to do. And so they have a little more agency in it. These 3 majors have a threshold policy. They say if you do VIP, it counts as a free elective. But if you earn 5 or 6 credits, then a portion or all of those count as in major elective. And so that creates some incentive, but it's not quite the turnkey. When you walk in the door, we expect you to do 3 semesters like the computer science one. And the mechanical engineering, they have pretty high participation and persistence rates, and it only counts as a free elective, but a lot of the VIP teams are very ME oriented. And so the students find it very exciting, all the robotics and the automotive thing. So we have pretty good participation with that department. So on the student side, when you're selecting students, you want to have a variety of, or not a variety of majors. You want the majors that you need for the project. And sometimes a student might apply from a major you wouldn't have thought about, but you can look at their application and see why they're interested in it. You know, maybe they have prior experience or they're changing majors, but often those students end up being very big assets for the team because it takes it in a direction that you weren't thinking of in the beginning. You want to have a variety of academic rank because you don't want to have all seniors and have everyone graduate at the same time. And if you have a child the same age as my college student, the movie Pitch Perfect, all the choir girls graduated at the same time and they had to start from scratch. That's what you end up with. And you want to have enthusiasm. It's not about prior experience. So no GPA, resumes, recommendations. And that's a paradigm shift for a lot of faculty. So we manage that admission for the new instructors that first semester or 2, so that they can have a team up and running and realize that the grade isn't the important part. For recruiting, I think that a piece that supports the representative participation that we see is that it's a really low stress application. All they do is they give us their name, they self-report their academic rank because they might currently be a freshman, but for the semester they're applying, they'll be a sophomore. They tell us what team they want and they tell us how many credit hours. And then we just want 250 characters on their motivation for wanting to join the team. And I think we may have increased it to 350 characters, but number 1, we don't want to read a book for every student. We also don't want that free response to become just a resume, because then it becomes, well, they'll choose whoever has the experience. We just want them to describe why they want to be on the team. And we think this increases access because students who are marginalized look at this and they look at the application and they think, oh, that's not so scary. I can do that. And I think that filling out that form is less scary than emailing a professor directly, and it is less intimidating. And then if we reject them for a team, maybe we already have enough students from that major. We already have too many seniors. The rejection says you weren't rejected because you're not qualified. We just already have enough students for that major, or one of these other criteria. Please apply to another team. We would love to have you participate. And so hopefully they'll come back and apply for another one. And we're very proactive. We have the webpage, we do email campaigns, and those email campaigns, we email every single Georgia Tech student. And we found that we get a better response if we do it by major, because if we send out a general email that says, hey, students, you should do this, we don't get as many students. But if we email them by major and say, hey, computer science student, we think you'll be interested. And here's a filter that shows you all the teams looking for computer science students. And we have students show up to the poster information section saying, I got an email telling me you're looking for math students. And we say, yes, we are. Come on in. But they read those and they feel like you're really talking to them. And we also have rolling admissions. We don't have an application deadline because we just keep accepting students for a team until it's full. And then we just mark that individual team as full. And so students can apply and be admitted through the first or the last day of drop ad kind of thing. And we found that we also had more representative enrollment when we time our recruiting campaign with registration times, because that's when students are thinking about these things. And enrollment management, that's getting into the weeds. You don't have to worry about enrollment management right now. So consortium, it's big. They have over 50 universities, a lot of them in the US, also all around the world. And we have a meeting in May. If anybody wants to find out about it, we'd be happy to host you. And this is a list of the institutions if you want to see. And I've been at events where someone said, oh, wait, my university has a program and I haven't heard about it. I need to go find out what's going on, because some programs are department level. But yeah, in case you have any neighbors or colleagues in the program. And that's it. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts? That's a lot of information, I know.
Thank you so much, Julie. That was great. So fantastic to hear about this. We'd love to hear questions from folks, or maybe if is there anyone here who's already participating in this who might want to weigh in or comment? I noticed UC Davis was on there, but it looks like Talitha has already
Well,
left
and I
us.
think Maryland is on here, and University of Maryland, I
Yeah.
think, has an emerging program. I think they have students enrolled.
Hi, I'm a UMD person.
Oh,
I work a little bit with our VIP teams right now, but we're working on trying to figure out the engineering people have figured out how to really run some really cool VIPs, and so we're wanting to take what they've built at UMD and then kind of translate it to, okay, how can we get other people involved that are outside of just engineering, like beyond just engineering faculty, and so that's kind of why I'm here today to learn a little bit more from you all, how you like set everything up and structure it all. But
well,
yeah.
and what if you wanted to, you could feasibly try to bring one or two of the people, like if you have departments that you think are maybe receptive, you could ask them, suggest that they come to the consortium meeting. Because
Mm,
sometimes, like this is what happened at Virginia Commonwealth. Their program started only in the College of Engineering. And then they said, okay, we're thinking about ramping it up. And so that year at the consortium meeting, they brought like 5 people because they brought stakeholders from other units. And that made a big difference. And they have done that. Now it's a campus-wide program.
yeah, that would be
And
amazing.
then also, we could connect, if you have biology people, we could try to connect them with other departments that have, or other VIP consortium institutions that have biology active programs. I think there's a lot going on in Boise or other places near Boise. So yeah, so we could definitely network and try to connect people.
Okay, awesome. I did have a question. We had another UMD person on here that is a biology person earlier.
Oh, okay.
And her question that I asked is related to the difference between the VIP classroom and like where the students are doing like the hands-on wet lab researchy
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
You could talk about
Okay.
that.
So actually, the classroom is a loose word for classroom. It's really just a room that we have, and we tell instructors you can either use this classroom or you can just meet in your research lab. And so I'd say it's about 50-50. About half the professors just say, I would rather just have them come to my lab. I have a big conference room we could use. And so we don't have any. When we began, we said, oh yeah, we're going to have a maker space and we're going to have a side room where you can do all your soldering. There's no way we can scale that. I am not in that business. And so it's better to lean on the campus maker spaces and things like that. So ours really is just a nice big conference room kind of thing, or a classroom that we've reconfigured to be more like big meeting tables.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Awesome. Thank you. There was another question from Sue about how do you fund supplies, especially for non-tenure track mentors?
So that varies dramatically by institution. I think that some institutions give their VIP teams, I'll give you the Boise scenario. So the Georgia Tech version is we don't give them anything, but we have seed grants, and the seed grants we use as startup, but we ask the teams to have a plan for long-term support or what their plan is. And some of them are working with external sponsors and getting a team started to help them kind of get it rolling. Boise, I think, has the most beautiful, awesome model. each college gets so they were originally going to have tuition dollars go to VIP, but then that was threatening to the colleges. So then the colleges agreed, well, we take the tuition dollars, but then you send us a list of how many VIP students we have from our college, and we'll route some of those funds to you. So the money goes to VIP, and then they use that pot, I think, as like a little pot that people can ask for funding for, because not every team needs funding every semester, and some teams need funding occasionally. And so they have kind of a little proposal that you would fill out and just describe what you need, how much it is, and then they allocate it as needed. And so I feel like Boise, we steal from them a lot, but I feel like they have the most well institutionalized structure of all of them. And I think also that when the faculty teach that money goes back to their home departments, they have the budget model where money follows to, feet or whatever it is. And so it counts as a course for their department, even though it has the VIP subject code. It recognizes the professor's home department. And then Kennesaw State University, they're in Georgia, they do seed grants, but I think it's a generous seed grant that can help them get up and running. And I don't know what the long-term model is. And I think that it's institutions that are less resourced, they might require ongoing support. And I'm not sure what those models will look like. Elizabeth, I see your hand. Sorry.
Oh, I think you need to unmute, Elizabeth. We can't hear you. Thanks.
That would work much better. Thank you.
Oh, there we go.
I was just going to say, I'm at Rice and we've had VIP for a number of years,
Yeah, you have.
but in one department in engineering. And so last year, what we did, I know folks have been asking in the chat about the non-engineering focus. So what we did last year is we put together a call for faculty who were interested in team-based research to come together as part of a learning community. And I basically gave a presentation very similar to what Julie gave today to kind of talk about what VIP would look like for them. Our office was able to put a little bit of funding behind it. So if they participated in that learning community and then they started a VIP team, we gave them some startup funds to get things rolling. And we were able to get, a biologist, a physicist, some social scientist, an anthropologist, right? So we were able to kind of spread this around the campus a little bit more. So now our model is a seed funding based model for all of our new teams. We still have a lot of participation from engineering, but maybe half of our teams are engineering, but we've got a good number of non-engineering teams as well.
And I want to compliment the Rice approach, doing the faculty learning community. That is so well structured. I think that a lot of our programs were just a little haphazard and running around like Kermit, waving our arms in the air. So Rice did really well.
That's great to hear.
And Joanna, I see your hand up.
Hi there. I'm just curious. I must have zoned out a little bit, but if a faculty and a dean came to the consortium meeting, is that what you're talking about? Like, that's just a way to see things in action, or what actually happens at the meeting?
So at the consortium meeting, it's VIP directors who come together and compare notes and help each other try to improve their programs. So people present on, this is what we did, this is why we love it, or this is what we did, and this is why it was a train wreck. We really do air our dirty laundry, but we have site updates. So institutions will update, give reports on this is how our student enrollment is. We tackle big problems across the consortium, but they can meet VIP directors from a wide variety of institutions and learn about how they're implementing the program and how it's unfolding at those different campuses.
So they could talk to people to see if this is something they would want to bring to our campus.
Right, yeah. And so the consortium meeting is pretty small. We have like maybe 80 people. So it's an event where you can talk to everyone who's at the event. And it's very peer learning setup kind of thing. We have a lot of, round tables and working sessions and things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Sounds great. Anybody else have any questions for Julie or any other comments?
And I see that Annie put the consortium meeting announcement in the chat. Thank you. I should have had that in there. And one other thing, we don't have it set up yet, but we're going to start doing monthly office meetings or office hours, because we've had inquiries and it's kind of constant email tag and trying to set up meetings. So we plan on doing just a monthly office hour. And I don't know if it'll be Georgia Tech or if we'll rotate off with other people who are on the academic board for the consortium, but that will be in the future. So I can send it to you guys once we have it.
That sounds great. Thank you so much, Julie, for being with us this afternoon. And thanks to everyone for coming and participating. And yeah, this was really inspiring. Fantastic. All right. Well, everybody have a wonderful rest of your Friday and have a great weekend. And hope
Great.
to see you again at our next NIST Falcon session, which will be in 2 weeks, I believe. Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
All right.
I'll hang out in case there are any
Yeah. If
lingerers.
anybody wants to talk to Julie, we'll hang out for a couple more minutes. Thank you so much.
And I'm so glad Elizabeth was here, because yeah, I had forgotten about their learning community because I had visited there and they told me their plan. And I was like, that's really clever. We haven't done that.
That's awesome. I didn't realize UC Davis had one.
So the UC Davis one, it they have a VIP program, but it's very, very narrowly defined. I think that they have teams that really are VIP teams, but they
Mhm.
don't recruit across campus, and they seem to
Mm,
focus on transfer students, I think it was. So it's kind of a little specialty
okay.
program. And there were
Got
discussions
it.
about maybe launching a sister program that is more of a broad campus-wide thing.
Got
Um,
it.
I can't remember who they were talking with about that.
Yeah, I'll have to talk to Talita about that. Yeah, I feel like this just sounds so wonderful and so great. And we have an engineering program, and everything, but our problem is just funding, and we are undergoing some really pretty severe stuff right now.
Yeah.
But one thing I wanted to ask, so one thing I was talking to a colleague and I go, this sounds amazing. One of the things that I was thinking of on a very much smaller scale was just the idea of like within a department or within a curriculum, having students like let's say in Bio 100, they swab something and they grow some colonies and they describe them. And then they take a microbiology course and they do more things, more advanced things with that same sample. And then they take a bioinformatics course and they get like genome sequence on those same things or whatever. Like when
Yeah.
I was thinking about the reason this came to mind was because um, a colleague of mine came to me and said, "Oh, your students work on all these projects in your advanced micro course. I would love to have like them offer us some samples that we can use for whole genome sequencing in our bioinformatics class." And so they're actually doing that. And so a student who was in my class is now in that other class. And so it's like they're using student samples for their research, and
Yeah.
they're all going to be presenting projects on that particular isolate. So I'm like, this is very mini integration. But I was
So
thinking like, if you had something like that where every semester it's like they're taking it to the next class. Do you know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know whether that is at all aligned with your thing is just so much bigger. Like I'm imagining
Well,
these hundreds of professors and hundreds of like thousands of students and everything. And this is just like one little
well, but I
piece.
mean, what you're talking about, I feel like, is a truly vertically integrated curriculum,
Mm,
whereas ours is a vertically integrated team. Yours would be
yeah.
a vertically integrated curriculum. But what's interesting is I can't remember which university it is, but the State University of New York has a pod of like multiple institutions that were talking about doing VIP. And what they were thinking of is something similar to what you were talking about. Was there are professors who really want to have lots of students. By There are
Hi,
professors who want to
Melanie.
have students, and it works well for them to have the students take advanced microbiology and then graduate into their lab. And
Yeah,
so they work with the students, and they have the students in the microbiology, and I'm not using the right word because I'm not a biologist, but they have the students in the class do things relevant to that lab, but then they can finish this class and graduate into multiple other scenarios where they have a team
interesting.
structure, and then they can do that team multiple semesters.
Wow. That's
So,
super cool.
so it's
It's just so inspiring and so wonderful to hear about how everybody's doing different kinds of things to get students involved in research. Like, yeah. I
well,
know
and I feel like
Carlos
biology.
does a lot too.
I feel like biology, you guys work very well on pedagogy and scaffolding, whereas engineers were like, yeah, we'll chuck them in the room, they'll figure it out. Whereas the SUNY people were, they're like, well, no, wouldn't it be great if we like help them learn in a structured environment and then they can be very productive. I was like, that is a very good idea.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love this. This was a lot of fun and I went to Emory and my roommate was at Georgia Tech and here at NC State, my partner and she teaches in genetics and I teach in biotechnology, which is usually juniors and seniors, and Claire does first and second years, and we connect them. But we've been thinking about something like this that's more project based
Mhm.
for a
Yeah.
long time because it's very different. And my question is, are the sponsors all research people, or how do you get sponsors that are non-research people?
So the people who are not research faculty are generally doing a project that is low cost.
Okay.
So it's often, so some of the people we have are from, well, we have the Georgia Tech Research Institute. So they're doing, research intensive things and they have money. But we have people from the Economic Development Institute. So they are working with businesses around. So one example, and this is a computer example because I know more computer people, but there's a government policy that is going to, companies have to have a certain level of cybersecurity on their projects in order to have defense sponsorship.
Hmm.
So companies in Georgia are going to lose money because they're going to lose those defense grants because they don't have the cybersecurity pieces in place. And they
Yeah.
feel like it's a complicated thing for them to figure it out. So the students are going to build a taxonomy of these are all the cybersecurity pieces. And this is a toolkit that these businesses can use to get to where they need to be. And so they can kind of use this tool to triage. So this person wouldn't be able to do that work on his own because it's too big. But with this army of students, he can do it. And he doesn't want just computer science students. He wants business students and public policy students. And so it's allowing him to, do more than he could do on his own. So a
That's
lot of the
awesome.
projects don't take, but I have another team that it's graphic medicine and they're doing graphic like comic book things, but for a spinal injury center. And so they're working with the center to develop things for their patients to help their patients process things they're going through.
This is all service learning from what I'm like, this is
It
service
is.
learning
Yes,
plus like getting funding from the community. This is community based, like it's all integrated. Absolutely love
Yeah.
that.
I love
Yeah. So
And
that.
that's
that's
something
exactly
I
it.
feel like the part about like finding like what Carlos is saying too, for me too, it's like finding those community partners, or Carlos, in your case, maybe finding like the biotech people in the
Mhm.
industry who are going to be like, hey, we really need like X, and your
A
students can
challenge.
figure it out. It's kind of like so I'm thinking like citizen science almost, like
Yeah.
the Great Sunflower Project. My colleague Gretchen Labune started this thing where it's like, or like it's like the backyard bird count or the sunflower thing where you're like looking at bees, and there's so many things that are out there that can be really, really big. And I think like somebody trying to start something like that feels a little overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, like how does this, reach so many people? Um,
Yeah.
and but yeah, I love what you've done, and everything that you shared with us today. I'm gonna
And it's,
have to hop off,
oh yes, I need to hop off
Okay.
too.
but
It's 5 o'clock here.
thank you guys. Have a
Thank
great
you.
weekend.
Yes.
Thanks so
Bye.
much, Julie. Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye bye.